For millennia, they hid the darkest chapter of Genesis. They censored the text, silenced the witnesses. But what if the serpent in Eden was more than a snake? What if Lucifer, the fallen angel, had a carnal encounter with Eve that changed humanity forever? This is the forbidden narrative, the scandal that reshapes original sin. You're standing at the edge of a truth that was meant to stay buried. The Bible on your shelf is missing the most dangerous page. For centuries, religious authorities curated a narrative to protect their power, but beneath sanctioned scripture lies a truth so volatile it could dismantle the foundation of original sin. What if the fall of humanity wasn't triggered by simple disobedience? What if it was an act of cosmic violation? Lucifer, the light-bearer cast from heaven, didn't merely whisper lies to Eve. He embodied desire itself. He seduced her. This is the forbidden intercourse at the heart of Edena sexual union that corrupted the very lineage of mankind. You feel it, don't you? That gnawing sense that the story has gaps, that the serpent's role is too vague, too symbolic. Today, we tear open the sealed archives. We follow the trail of ink left by heretics and visionaries. If something in you recognizes this truth and you want more revelations like this, leave a comment and stay with this story until the end. Your reaction tells me to keep opening these doors for you. But before we descend into the garden, understand this. What you're about to hear is not metaphor. It's evidence. And the keepers of this evidence paid with their lives. Now, imagine Eden as it was meant to be. Perfect, pristine, and utterly vulnerable to the shadow waiting outside. Picture Eden before the rupture. A realm of shimmering light where every leaf pulsed with divine presence. Adam and Eve walked naked. Not with shame, but in radiant innocence, their bodies vessels of pure spirit. The air hummed with harmony, the animals spoke in tongues of peace. You stand there in your mind's eye, feeling the warmth of a sun that never burned, tasting fruit that never spoiled. This was the garden crafted as a sanctuary for humanity, a bridge between heaven and earth. But outside its borders, a storm gathered. Lucifer, once heaven's brightest star, now fallen into abyssal jealousy, watched from the void. He saw Eve not as a companion, but as a weapon. Her curiosity, her openness, her very flesh became his target. The veil between worlds grew thin. He waited, he planned. The evidence survived in fragmented psalms and forbidden prophecies. The fallen one desired to corrupt creation at its source, not through force, but through intimacy, not through conquest, but through seduction. Eden was a paradise, yes, but it was also a trapper stage set for a drama of cosmic betrayal. And as Eve wandered near the tree, the boundary trembled. Something was coming, something that would make the fruit seem innocent. The real invasion was about to begin. To grasp the stakes, you must see the invisible architecture, heaven's hierarchy, seraphim, cherubim, thrones all singing eternal glory. Earth below, a reflection of divine order. Humanity, made in God's image, crowned with authority over nature. Lucifer, the morning star, shattered this harmony. His rebellion wasn't just pride, it was a craving to usurp the creative power itself. He wanted to seed his own lineage, to mix angelic essence with human clay. The garden's center held two trees, life and knowledge. But knowledge here wasn't mere information. It was experiential, carnal, the knowing that comes through union. Lucifer saw his chance. He would not just tempt, he would impregnate. He would fuse his fallen light with Eve's mortal form, creating a hybrid race that would forever taint humanity's purity. This is the hidden architecture, a cosmic law that spirit and flesh must remain distinct for holiness to flourish. Lucifer aimed to break that law. The serpent in Genesis is a masker, later edit to obscure the true actor. Original texts whispered of a shining one who approached Eve. The veil is torn. You're peering into the blueprint of the fall, but how did he cross from spiritual realm to physical touch? The mechanism was desire itself, and Eve, alone and unguarded, was about to become the portal, the rupture. It happens not at noon, but in the liminal hour when shadows lengthen. Eve separates from Adam, perhaps drawn by a whisper, a gleam in the foliage. Lucifer appears not as a monster, but in his pre-fallen splendor, radiant, beautiful, a being of light and music. He speaks her language, praises her form, ignites a curiosity deeper than hunger. He offers not fruit, but himself. His touch is electric, a fusion of angelic fire and human warmth. The act is both spiritual and brutally physical, a violation of cosmic boundaries. This is the forbidden knowledge, the intimacy between a fallen god and the mother of all living. In that union, something is transferred, not just sin, but a seed, a lineage conceived in rebellion. The garden itself recoils, the leaves wilt, the animals flee. Eve is left transformed, carrying a darkness within her womb. The evidence survived in apocryphal prayers where she confesses, "I have known an angel of fire." This isn't allegory. This is testimony, suppressed by councils who feared what it meant for original sin. Why did God ask, "What have you done?" Not just, "What have you eaten?" The question hints at a deeper defilement. The fruit was a symbol. The real transgression was the blending of realms, and now the aftermath awaits a world born from that fusion. Aftermath. God's voice echoes through Eden, not in anger alone but in grief. The curses unfold, pain in childbirth, toil in fields, enmity with the serpent. But look closer. The serpent is told, "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers." Offspring, plural. Two lineages, Cain and Abel. Ancient Jewish mystics taught that Cain was not Adam's son, but the serpent's conceived from that illicit union. Cain's mark, his violence, his founding of cities of rebellion, all signs of a corrupted bloodline. Eve's womb held twins of two fathers, one divine, one fallen. This is the devastating consequence. The fall wasn't just a moral slip, it was a genetic, spiritual pollution that passed through generations. The Nephilim in Genesis 6, the giants born from angels and human women, are echoes of this first hybridizing. The world drowns in corruption, leading to the flood. But why is this connection erased from your Bible? Because it makes sin inherent, not chosen a taint in the very bloodline. That truth was too dangerous for organized religion. It implied that salvation required more than repentance. It required a cleansing of lineage. The evidence survived in caves, hidden by those who refused to let the story die. But the keepers were hunted, and their scrolls waited centuries for someone like you to find them. Primary evidence. Open Genesis 3. The serpent is more crafty than any beast. But Hebrew words hint at something greater. Nachash can mean serpent, but also shining one. Isaiah 14:12-15 describes Lucifer's fall from heaven, his ambition to ascend above God. Ezekiel 28:12-19 paints him as the anointed cherub in Eden, perfect until iniquity was found. These passages, when layered, suggest Lucifer was present in the garden not as a snake, but as a celestial being. The fruit, a metaphor for the fruit of his loins. Eve's desire, as Genesis 3:16 says, will be for her husband, but the original sin already skewed that desire. Early church fathers like Justin Martyr and Irenaeus wrestled with these hints, some implying a sexual component. But the clearest proof comes from outside the canon. The Book of Jubilees, the life of Adam and Eve, and other apocrypha describe Eve's vision of angelic intercourse, a memory of her own experience. These texts were circulated, then banned. They didn't want you to know, they buried the evidence. Yet fragments persist, quoted in heresy trials, found in monastic margins. You're piecing together a puzzle designed to stay incomplete. But the next layer, the hidden testimony, holds the explicit accounts that will shatter your assumptions. Hidden testimony. Enter the Book of Enoch, preserved by Ethiopian Christians but declared apocryphal by the West. Here the Watcher's fallen angels descend to Mount Hermon, swear an oath, and take human wives. Their union produces giants, corrupting the earth. But Enoch's narrative parallels Eden. The angels teach forbidden arts, yes, but their first sin is lust crossing the boundary between spirit and flesh. Lucifer, often identified with Samyaza or Azazel, leads this rebellion. Then, the Gnostic Gospels from Nag Hammadi. The secret book of John describes the archons, led by Yaldabaoth, a demiurge linked to Lucifer, who create Adam and Eve, then seek to keep them ignorant through sexual temptation. In one text, Eve is seduced by the serpent instructor, who gives her knowledge through physical union. These are the suppressed witnesses. They were buried in jars, hidden in tombs, to survive the burnings. Why? Because they reveal that the fall was a hierarchical crime, heaven's nobility violating earth's innocence. The evidence survived against all odds. Monks copied them in secret, knowing possession meant death. You're reading their legacy. But who were these brave souls who risked eternity to keep the truth alive? Their story is next, and it proves that this knowledge was never meant to die. The Keepers. From the Essenes at Qumran, who stored the Dead Sea Scrolls, to the Gnostic communities in Egypt, to medieval Kabbalists and alchemists, they passed down the forbidden narrative. They saw themselves as guardians of a complete revelation, one that included the dark chapters. They believed that understanding the sexual fall was key to redemption. For them, the serpent's seed symbolized the duality within every human, the pull toward divine spirit versus corrupted flesh. They encrypted this knowledge in symbols, in art, in oral traditions. If you feel that you were made for this kind of hidden truth, write in the comments what most shook you so far and share this video with one person who also hungers for more. Your voice helps this buried story reach the ones who need it. These keepers faced persecution. Rome burned Gnostic libraries. The Inquisition tortured mystics. Reformers like Martin Luther condemned Apocrypha. Yet they endured. Why? Because they believed that hiding this truth allowed sin to fester in ignorance. By preserving it, they offered a path to healing through awareness. Their courage ensured that when the modern world was ready, the evidence would resurface. And resurface it did in a dramatic discovery that would force scholars to confront what the Church had long denied. Modern discovery. 1945, Nag Hammadi, Egypt. A farmer digs up a clay jar filled with papyrus codices. Among them the Gospel of Philip, the Apocryphon of John, texts speaking of Eve's defilement by the ruling powers. Adai. 1947, the Dead Sea Scrolls emerge from Qumran caves, including Enochic literature. Scholars like Elaine Pagels and Margaret Barker began connecting dots. They argued that early Christian diversity included beliefs about a sexual fall, later suppressed by orthodoxy. Archaeological finds artifacts depicting serpent-human hybrids, ancient temples with erotic reliefs linked to fallen angels added physical proof. Scientific analysis of texts showed edits and omissions in Genesis over centuries. The evidence survived. What they decoded confirms the forbidden narrative. Lucifer's union with Eve wasn't a fringe myth. It was a core belief in many early Jewish and Christian sects. The Church's canonization process deliberately excluded these accounts to present a simpler, more controllable story of sin. But the truth has a way of leaking out. Now, with digital archives and interdisciplinary study, we're reconstructing the full picture. And it rewrites everything you thought about human origins. But the deeper truth, what this means for your soul, is even more explosive. The deeper truth. This isn't just ancient history. Lucifer's sexual act with Eve implanted a duality in humanity, a divine spark from Adam and a fallen seed from Lucifer. This explains the inner war, the pull toward light versus shadow, spirit versus flesh. Original sin becomes not just a legal guilt, but a genetic and spiritual inheritance. The serpent seed doctrine, though controversial, resonates across esoteric traditions. It suggests that redemption involves purifying this hybrid nature. Jesus, in this framework, comes as the new Adam, born of a virgin to bypass the corrupted lineage, offering a path to rebirth. This truth reshapes theology. Salvation is not just forgiveness, but transformation of our very substance. It makes sense of why humanity is capable of both sublime love and horrific evil. You carry this legacy in your bones. The veil is torn. Recognizing this can free you from shame. It's not your fault, but it is your battle. The evidence survived to awaken you. This knowledge is dangerous because it empowers. You see the root of the struggle, and you can choose to align with the divine lineage. But first, you must accept your calling. This story isn't just about them, it's about you. And the proof isn't confined to texts, it's etched in stone across the world. Your calling. You're hearing this now because your soul is ready. This forbidden narrative isn't a curiosity, it's a key to understanding your own nature. That tension you feel between higher aspirations and base desires, that's the echo of Eden's violation. By facing this truth, you reclaim power. You're not a passive inheritor of sin. You're a warrior in a cosmic drama that began with a seduction. Your calling is to integrate this knowledge, to seek wholeness by acknowledging both your divine origin and the fallen shadow within. This is the path of the mystics, to look into the abyss and still choose light. The evidence survived for you. It's in the texts you can now access, the scholars you can read, the communities you can join. But this journey requires courage. It will challenge your faith, your identity, everything. Yet it leads to liberation of faith that embraces the full story, not the censored version. You were made for this. The keepers passed the torch. Now it's in your hands. Will you carry it? Will you share it? The opposition tried to bury it, but they failed. Because souls like yours hunger for the whole truth, and the evidence isn't just in words, it's physical, tangible, waiting for you to see. Physical traces. Across the ancient world, artifacts whisper the secret. Sumerian cylinder seals show serpent-like beings entwined with human figures. Gnostic gems depict the Ophite serpent granting knowledge through intimate embrace. Medieval cathedrals like Notre Dame have carvings where the serpent has a human face, hinting at the angelic identity. In Ethiopia, churches house paintings of the Watchers descending to human women. Even in the Americas, myths tell of feathered serpents impregnating maidens. These are not coincidences. They are cultural memories of that primal event. Archaeologists have found tablets at Ebla and Ugarit referencing divine marriages that corrupted humanity. The evidence survived in plain sight, often misunderstood or labeled pagan. But when pieced together, they form a mosaic. Lucifer's union with Eve left a mark on human consciousness, reflected in art and myth worldwide. Why did the Church deface many of these images? Because they were too revealing. They showed what the texts dared not say explicitly. You can visit these sites today, you can touch stones that hold the memory, but the opposition was fierce, and understanding why reveals the depth of the cover-up. Who benefited from hiding this? Who feared the power of this truth? The answer lies in the halls of religious authority. The opposition. From the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD to the Index of Forbidden Books, the Church systematically suppressed apocryphal texts. Bishops like Athanasius decreed that only canonical scriptures be read. Others, like Epiphanius, railed against heretics who taught the sexual fall. Manuscripts were burned. Library of Alexandria, Gnostic codices, Cathar treasures. Inquisitors tortured those who spoke of Lucifer's seed. Why such extreme measures? Because this truth undermined clerical control. If sin was a genetic taint from a supernatural event, then redemption required direct mystical experience, not just sacraments administered by priests. It democratized access to the divine. It made every person a battlefield between lineages, needing personal awakening. That was a threat to institutional power. They buried the evidence to maintain authority, but they couldn't erase it completely. Secret societies like the Rosicrucians or Freemasons preserved elements in symbols. Now, in the age of information, the suppression is unraveling. You're witnessing the resurgence. Now you know what they feared. The question is, what will you do? This knowledge comes with responsibility to honor it, to use it for growth, not division. Your decision moment is here. Your decision. You've journeyed to the heart of a forbidden truth. You've seen the evidence, the keepers, the opposition. Now, the choice is yours. Will you accept this narrative as a deeper layer of sacred history? Will you let it transform your understanding of good and evil, spirit and flesh? Or will you retreat into the comfort of the sanitized story? This isn't just intellectual, it's spiritual. Your soul is at a crossroads. If this journey is opening your eyes and you want me to keep bringing dangerous, sacred stories like this, tell me in the comments what changed for you and follow this channel. Your presence here is the sign to continue uncovering what they tried to bury. Share this with others who hunger. Build a community of seekers. The veil is torn for a reason, so you can see clearly. But there's one final revelation, a twist that connects Lucifer's act directly to your potential for transcendence. This isn't just about corruption, it's about alchemy. The darkest seed can be transformed into the brightest light. Stay for the final unveiling. The final unveiling. Return to the garden. Lucifer's union with Eve violation, yes, but also an infusion of consciousness. The knowledge of good and evil, gained through that carnal experience, gave humanity a duality that allows for choice. Without that fall, we would be innocent but ignorant, unable to truly choose love. In the grand mystery, this act forced a divine response. Incarnation, redemption, the opportunity to transform the fallen seed into sacred fire. Jesus, as the new Adam, enters the corrupted lineage and purifies it through his sacrifice. Your struggle is the crucible where spirit refines flesh. This is the hope within the horror. The evidence survived to show you that you are not just a victim of ancient sin, you are a participant in a cosmic redemption story. Your awareness of this truth is the first step toward healing the rupture. You were made for this. Now go forward, study the texts, join communities of discernment, live with integrity. The veil is torn, but you can mend it with conscious love. This is the call. Embrace the full story and let it liberate you. The journey doesn't end here, it begins. You hold the key. Use it.